Wonderful. Thank you very much, Baroness. And I'm very, very pleased to be able to talk to you briefly this afternoon. I'm not going to talk about tax. Thank you for the kind introduction. Everybody be relieved to know. Look, I think Ambassador Ahn used the word affection to describe everybody's on this panel and on this call's attitude towards Vietnam, and it's very true. And we all feel very good to be here and to be doing business here, and it's not without good reason. I think to answer the broad question, how does the business world feel about Vietnam now? I would say we're all feeling pretty good. It's always been true that investors have come into Vietnam or engaged with Vietnam through a number of different lenses. Many of us come here through the domestic lens, looking at the domestic story. And Vice Minister Vương went through many of the successes that Vietnam has had in its macroeconomic story, the fact that we've enjoyed not just the last 7 or 8 years, as he described, of growth, but 25 years of consistent economic growth. And that is a pretty envious track record. Not many countries in the world can claim that. And the truth is that that's a very attractive proposition to companies looking to invest and invest successfully. And many of us see that continuing. And particularly if we think about this year, which has been so problematic for so many places around the world with the COVID crisis, the government have very clearly demonstrated the truism that governments don't have to choose between health and economic outcomes. You can very much achieve success in both. And by putting the health of the population here to the front, the domestic economy has remained very strong, and indeed most people think will record positive GDP growth even in 2020. So that I think is a really, really important thing, is the overall success of the economic management of the country. Another lens that investors have looked at Vietnam through is the regional lens, and particularly looking at Southeast Asia. Gareth just mentioned, Ambassador Ward just mentioned that Vietnam's underrepresented in UK investment into ASEAN. And, this I think is something that's going to change pretty quickly as not only in relation to the UK, but looking around the world as many companies find Southeast Asia an attractive place to invest. And Vietnam is really a standout location across Southeast Asia now, both due to its handling of the COVID crisis, but also just for other sort of political and economic circumstances that are afflicting some of the other Southeast Asian economies. So I think looking at that regional lens and looking at Vietnam as an entree to Southeast Asia is also driving thinking. And thirdly, and this is perhaps in some ways the most topical driver, it's the global lens and the lens of geopolitics that has really come to the fore in multinational companies when looking at allocating capital and making investments. And this has come from the idea, or if we try to think about this, one way to think of it is that every CEO in the world for the last 20, 30 years has had to come to the boardroom with a China strategy. And over the last 10 years and certainly the last 2 or 3 years, they've really had to come to the boardroom with a China plus strategy. And Vietnam has just proven to be a very, very attractive partner for multinational companies that are looking to that sort of diversification and risk mitigation and taking the opportunities that Vietnam offers. And, the result of that is that we've seen Vietnam becoming a really attractive investment destination. We've seen Vietnam playing an increasing role in global supply chains, and Director General Tai has talked about that, about the industries that are taking off in Vietnam in manufacturing and export. I think the UK in particular can be very proud that most UK companies that are playing in Vietnam are best in class and are contributing to global supply chains, often at the very, very top end of the value chain. So as you just called out, Baroness, to Vice Minister Vung's priority to accelerate or lift Vietnam up the value chain, the UK is playing a really, really important part in that, whether it's in financial services, manufacturing, and all of the support services around it. So yeah, I think through every lens, looking very, very attractive. I'll pick up on one or two of these questions before I know you go back to the panel. But you mentioned the one about the challenge around visiting factories and getting in and working with Vietnamese partners. I think it is clearly a challenge at the moment with travel restrictions to actually get into Vietnam if you're not here already to visit. But I would say there are enormous ties, soft power ties and cultural and economic ties between Vietnam and the UK that give British companies looking to invest and do business in Vietnam enormous outreach through Vietnamese that are in Vietnam already or others that are here that are ready and willing to partner and to help connect where connections are difficult at present. So, I don't think we have to be put off with that. I would say also Vietnamese are amazing adopters of technology and, really at the forefront of using the internet and cyber tech to communicate and talk to each other. So I don't think there's huge barriers or obstacles to actually getting away and building on the sort of success that companies would have had through visiting Vietnam in the past. And let's hope we're back to face-to-face visits pretty soon.
Thank you, Warwick. That's brilliant.